The police transcript, which describes in detail what Chris Brown truly did to Rihanna, will shock you. Brown was driving a vehicle with Rihanna as a front passenger on an unknown street in LA. Rihanna picked up Brown's cellular phone and observed a 3-page text message from a woman who Brown had previously had an intimate relationship with. A verbal argument ensued and Brown pulled the vehicle over on an unknown street, reached over to Rihanna with his right hand, opened the door, and attempted to force her out. Brown was unable to force Rihanna out of the vehicle because she was wearing a seatbelt, and when he couldn't force her to exit, he took his right hand and shoved her head against the passenger window of the vehicle, causing an approximate 1-inch raised circular contusion. Rihanna turned to face Brown and he socked her in the left eye with his right hand. He then drove his vehicle and continued to wail her in the face with his right hand while steering the vehicle with his left hand. This caused Rihanna's mouth to fill with blood and blood to splatter all over her clothing and the interior of the vehicle. Brown looked at Rihanna and stated, "I'm going to beat the F out of you when we get home. You wait and see." The detective said Rihanna then used her phone to call her personal assistant Jennifer Rosalius, who did not answer. Rihanna pretended to talk to her and stated, "I'm on my way home, make sure the police are there when I get there." After Rihanna faked this call, Brown looked at her and stated, "You just did the stupidest thing ever, now I'm really going to unalive you." Brown resumed socking Rihanna as she interlocked her fingers behind her head and brought her elbows forward to protect her face. She then bent over at the waist, placing her elbows and face near her lap in an attempt to protect her face and head from the barrage of wailing being levied upon her by Brown. Brown continued to sock Rihanna on her left arm and her hand, causing her to suffer a contusion on her left tricep that was approximately 2 inches in diameter and numerous contusions on her left hand. Rihanna then attempted to send a text message to her other personal assistant, Melissa Ford. Brown snatched the cellular telephone out of her hand and threw it out the window onto an unknown street. Brown continued driving and Rihanna observed her cellular telephone sitting in his lap. She picked up her phone with her left hand and before she could make a call, he placed her in a headlock with his right hand and continued to drive the vehicle with his left hand. Brown pulled Rihanna closer to him and chomped her on the left ear. She was able to feel the vehicle swerving from left to right as Brown sped away. He stopped the vehicle in front of 333 North June Street and Rihanna turned the car off, removing the key from the ignition and sat on it. Brown did not know what she did with the key and began socking her in the face and arms. He then placed her in a headlock, positioning the front of her neck between his bicep and forearm. Brown began applying pressure, causing Rihanna to be unable to breathe and she began to lose consciousness. She reached up with her left hand and began attempting to reach for his eyes. In an attempt to free herself, Brown chomped her left ring and middle fingers and then released her. Brown continued to sock her. She turned around and placed her back against the passenger door. She brought her knees to her chest, placing her feet against Brown's body and began pushing him away. Brown continued to sock her on the legs and feet, causing several contusions. Rihanna began screaming for help and Brown exited the vehicle and walked away. A resident in the neighborhood heard Rihanna's plea for help and called 911, causing a police response. An investigation was conducted and Rihanna was issued a domestic violence emergency protective order.